have some really highly valued clients out of town, Bay Area, New York, and other states. So welcome. Look forward to chatting with you guys afterwards. We'll get this on YouTube. I'll get the links to you guys if you want to send them out to some of your other clients and contacts. It'll be a good opportunity to share what you're doing in the industry and provide some value to people. So instead, we're going to get started. Thanks for coming. You know, as always, it's hard to gauge the crowd until we're here. And you know, I thought we might have a little bit bigger crowd in terms of who RSVP, but as it is, we'll still get a lot of value out of it. I know every time I hear a presentation or helped conduct a presentation, I learn something. And with several people in here are either in the real estate, well, they're in the real estate industry either as real estate agents or in other endeavors, we'll learn some good stuff. So looking forward to it. Quick introduction in terms of how this is going to differ from the workshops a couple of you guys have been to here before. Generally, when we put on an investors workshop, and we do a few a year, people want to hear about what we're doing in flipping houses, quite frankly. I always say that's kind of a crude term for what we use, but it's simple to understand. So they see the before and after photos in our binders and what we're putting up on some of our social media pages. And we have investors that fortunately we've kept pretty happy with our performance, and so we put out some reviews on it and things. But that's really the short-term stuff, and that's a big part of our business focus, and we're thankful for it. But especially for people who are looking at long-term investing, maybe they're starting out at a younger age, like some of you guys, the pathway to real sustainable long-term wealth is through holdings, you know, whether it be commercial holdings, land, or as I'm sure we'll talk about a lot tonight, and Matt will present on towards the end, is rentals. So I wanted to do something that was a little bit different. I'm sure I'll talk about some of our experiences after I turn the floor over, and how some of the rehab work we've done in real estate has an interplay with the topics tonight. But it's really gauged towards those who want to use real estate as part of their portfolio. So I know folks tuning in tonight on the web have real estate portfolios that are a significant part, if not the biggest part, of what they envision to be their retirement. So we're going to, Jeff is going to talk about 1031 exchanges. Chris is going to talk about leveraging that property through cross-collateralization into more investments. And then Matt will talk about tenancy, which is probably the most important thing in any long-term holding. And now we're starting to learn some new ways to do it, so it's pretty exciting. So Chris, why don't you come up and talk to us about ways to collateralize property. Jeff talked about leveraging property, and you take your, you know, he had one slide where he talked about reinvesting $350,000 versus reinvesting $500,000. That's a $150,000 difference, but the amount of property that you could buy is not a $150,000 difference because of the principle of leverage. I think it was like a $600,000 difference on your slide, somewhere in there.
Yep.
And that's what Chris will talk about.
Thank you, Chris. My name is Hard Money Chris with Team Socotra. We're your local direct private money lender. We lend on properties that don't qualify, borrowers that don't qualify, or in the investor community, we close same as cash in the hopes of obtaining some type of discount, price reduction with same as cash. What I mean by same as cash is we can close in a timeline typically less than 2 weeks. So I could go on and on in regards to that, but we've worked a lot with the 3 Point real estate team with Chris McVale, lending on his rehabs and flips to obtain that discount and lend the money on both the purchase and the improvements. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about how the hard money fits in with building your real estate portfolio. A lot of people, once they have so many properties in their portfolio, will have a hard time going to Jim to try to get a loan. Jim, how many properties, if I have 10 properties in my portfolio that I have loans on, and another 4 that are paid off free and clear, is that, what is the limit now with traditional financing?
10.
10 properties?
10 loans.
10 loans.
You can have 20 properties, but only 10 of them refinance.
Okay, so in that case, I'm maxed out, I can't get another loan. Perhaps I find another property that I want to purchase. Perhaps I'm using a 1031 exchange. I have some cash, but for the most part, my cash is locked up in my properties, be it some of the properties that are owned free and clear, or some that have equity or not equity, but I have debt on them. So what I can do then in that case is go to a hard money lender and let them know I'm looking to purchase this piece of real estate, be it land, be it ag land, be it commercial property, residential property. I could then put up my investment property that I own free and clear, or with some debt on it. If there's enough equity, we're an equity-based lender. We can free up that cash to cross-collateralize with a purchase of another property and acquire more real estate in that regard. Once I've made the loan and the borrower has consummated the deal, then at that point they might go back to Jim. Maybe they sell off another property so that they have a loan available to where you can make a loan on it. So we're a vital piece of the fabric of the investment community in regards to freeing up that cash for a purchase where there's a profit to be had, or a scenario where there's a property that must need to be acquired, whether it's a 1031 exchange or cross-collateralizing one property to buy another one. The money can be paid back within days or weeks after the loan has been consummated. So another challenge that someone might have with a conventional loan is that you can't pay it back right away. With the hard money, there's no minimum hold time typically, so you can use the money as transactional financing, a bridge loan, whatever you decide to call it. There is a cost associated with this. The cost of the hard money is much more expensive than traditional financing, because it is private money and the money's not earning interest over the course of 30-40 years. So typically the cost of the money will be somewhere between 3 to 5%, including just for the cost of the money, one-time charge, the points and fees, and then there's an annual interest charge that's calculated on a daily basis and paid monthly. Typically rates are anywhere from 10 to 13%. So this allows a borrower or investor in this case to acquire more property, potentially add value by adding a bedroom or a bathroom, because we not only lend on the purchase but also on the improvements. And it's a great way to leverage the cash that you might have that will allow you to acquire in a case where you might acquire one property or two properties, maybe acquire either a more desirable property or increase volume, increase profits. Please, questions?
What do you have to do to qualify for it?
Great question. So our underwriting is completely different than what, say, Jim's traditional underwriting would look at. We are interested in credit and ability to repay, but that's not really what we're looking at so much as how much cash, skin in the game you have to come in with, how much the property is going to cost to purchase. You know, basically the scenario, the story. I can buy this property for 50 cents on the dollar. You know, there's 50% of built-in equity right off the bat. So really the requirement is skin in the game, be it 25-35% cash to come in with, as little as that, or equity in another property. A loan application, tax returns, bank statements, simply to complete the story. Where our underwriting is not based on you know, how long you've been with the job, debt to income ratio, so much as, you know, a lot of business owners may not show well on paper, but they have strong cash reserves, or show really well on paper, you know, don't have strong cash reserves, but are bringing in a partner. Perhaps we want to make a loan to a group of individuals that started an entity. Perhaps you're using your retirement funds, you've moved them into a self-directed IRA. We can actually lend to the entity. So there's a lot of versatility that we can provide. We're seeing a lot of business purpose loans where people are taking cash out and funding maybe a business purpose or business enterprise that doesn't really have a proven track record. So that's also something that we've seen happen and we can help with.
So let me give you a scenario. You know, we're doing the exchange and there's equity in the first sale, and you're buying a piece of property. So you need let's say $350,000 in loan money to complete that transaction. Plus you need some money for improvements. So now let's say in this scenario you're not totally bankable with a traditional lender. So in that scenario, how would you deal with that?
Yeah, great question. So essentially, you have a 1031 exchange, be it a reverse exchange or a normal exchange, and you're trying to acquire another property. When you're in a 1031 exchange, you're in a time-sensitive situation, so you don't have the luxury of perhaps, waiting to get approved for a loan, or perhaps the property you're trying to acquire wouldn't qualify for a loan. So we would make the bridge loan, satisfy the 1031 exchange by entering into more debt. You would acquire the property, stabilize it, maybe if it's a multifamily unit, you're stabilizing the rents, bringing in rents, or upgrading the value, and then you would qualify for takeout financing, be it commercial takeout financing or residential takeout financing with Jim.
That's the exact scenario I was referencing earlier, so that's spot on what we just recently successfully.
I mean, you got two costs. You've got the purchase cost for the replacement property, and then you've got the improvement cost for the replacement property. So is that like one loan that you wrap in everything, or is it?
We're pretty solution oriented, and it's not to say that we've always done it that way, but we are on the hard money side, we are a rehab lender. Not all hard money lenders lend on purchase plus improvements. That's sort of our niche, is those added value plays. We understand that in this market, a lot of people are acquiring property, and for example, in San Francisco, where property values and finding a place to live is a highly sought after commodity. There's a lot of value to be gained by adding a bedroom, a bathroom, upgrading the finishes, and so those are some ways where investors are making those gains. So in that case, we will lend on the purchase plus the improvements. So it does satisfy the requirement of entering into greater debt. You're able to obtain the property, and now you have the cash to not only purchase it, but also make the improvements. And that dollar amount is included in the loan, and going back to satisfying the requirements, if you need to enter into greater debt, that rehab money counts as that additional debt.
2 times value, the improvement value, or is it the purchase value?
No, it's always the purchase value. No, it's going to be contract.
Oh, okay.
Let me ask you a question. If in certain cases, our loan amount can actually exceed the cost of acquisition. So if, for example, if Chris is buying an investment property that's cost $500,000 to purchase, it's $500,000 to rehab. My loan is $750,000 in that case, even though they're buying it for $500,000. Just curious.
With the franchise tax board, well, that certain scenario came up with the state stuff. They said that they would rather have you have 2 separate loans in that sense. Have one just for the purchase, and then get the second one for the improvements. But
I didn't mean to do that.
It's a pretty exaggerated example.
Yeah.
But the point, a more realistic example might be like, you bought a place for 120, you were going to put 80 into it, now my loan's 150, but the place is only cost 120, and
Right.
that's more realistic. And
yeah.
Sure, there's some gray areas. Maybe I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm learning also.
No, that's good.
Well, I'm sure there's, you could stump any one of us with a trick question. But,
I've actually seen that recently, and it went through.
So,
Again, I play in the gray area a lot.
I might have some homework. But there's a lot of gray areas, and, I don't have all the answers, but it's certainly, I enjoy finding out what the answer is.
And with that, yeah, I would recommend always talking to your CPA, because the CPA is the one that's going to be the final decision maker.
All right.
Well, one of the things I would, like, again, kind of a case study with what Chris is doing is so just giving you some experience we've had that kind of ties what both these guys are doing and what our business offers a lot of times, is we had a client who had some land outright, okay, and was holding that land for long-term development or personal use, and it was just sitting there, but it could be viewed as an investment property, even though it's not producing income. So it's sitting there. 3 Point Real Estate got involved in a rehab or one of our flips. The client wants to be involved in that flip as what we call an investing partner. That's a different presentation. But they were cash poor, but they had this investment property just sitting there. So what they do is they cross-collateralize as an individual investing partner. They cross-collateralize that land with Socotra. You only, I think it was 60 or 65% loan to value, but they got the money out of that land they needed to invest in the new property. Now they're paying interest on it, but they're still able to leverage that property into a new investment while still maintaining control of that initial property, which is what I want to reference. Because the other option is what? Sell that property. Now you have 100% of that worth to invest in another project, but you've lost control of that property that you initially wanted to hold and then develop long term. Use cross-collateralization through someone like Chris. You take out the money, you invest it into another property, partner with some people, couple it with an exchange, and do some pretty interesting things. So that's kind of how I saw the interplay of that coming together personally and through some of our transactions. So.
Another crossing commercial with residential, that's something that we can handle. That's weird for a lot of lenders.
I haven't seen that yet, but it sounds awesome, and I like the creativity. So we recently did with you guys a land to residential. We could go just like Jeff's chart showed earlier. You could go pretty much any. I think you had 6 of them around the center, and they all
They all
the same
present
way.
anything and everything.
Yeah, cool.